Wara l-ofsinari tajjeb, il-kulħadd, Ministru, kollegi, membri tal-medja, nilqawkom hawn għat-tnedija tal-Pavillion ta' Malta li se jkun parti mill-Biennale ta' Venezia 2022. Peress li din hija tnedija lokali u anke internazzjonali, se naqleb għall-Ingliż sabiex nilħu l-udjenzi bl-ikbar mod usa possibbli. Udjenzi akkaniti minn kull rokna tad-dinja Ewropea u dik globali. Welcome, Minister, distinguished guests, colleagues, and members of the media. Arts Council Malta is hereby launching Malta's participation in the 59th edition of the Venice Biennale. After meticulous work carried out by the Arts Council Malta team, and here I would definitely care to mention Dr. Romina Delia, supported by Christine Darmanin, part of the team, my team, and we are all led by Mr. Albert Marshall. But I have to mention Romina and Christine, two very special women, admirable for the commitment, determination, and leaving no stone unturned approach. And yes, we are here. We are here, yet a long journey ahead. A long journey ahead, and we are very happy to travel this with an exceptional curatorial team. Without delay, I would like to pass on the word now to Prof. Keith Shiberas, lead curator, together with Jeffrey Uslip after that. So on to you, Professor Shiberas, so as to introduce to the rest of the world this very exciting and intriguing journey. Your hands.
L-istess, jiena ħan nitkellem bl-Ingliż minħabba l-udjenza internazzjonali. Well, we're obviously so very happy to be here, and yes, indeed, Marianne, if I may, this is a rather unexpected group. Well, as most of you already know, it includes a contemporary art curator, that's Jeffrey Uslip, a kinetic art a sculptor, that's Arcangelo Sassolino, a theorist artist, Giuseppe Schembri-Bonacci, a musician-conductor who's online with us, that's Brian Schembri, a Caravaggio scholar, that's myself, and art managers, Nicky Petroni from Malta, and Esther Flari, who is Swiss-American. So the team is composed of a number of Maltese, Italian, and American individuals. Well, we have been discussing this project in a series of interviews, and obviously, as you all know, we can't show much of it today, unfortunately, because this will ruin the surprise, which is such an exciting part of the choreography of the Biennale exhibition as a whole. Well, our project was actually born in 2018. It is then that we first discussed the possibility of a contemporary, immersive engagement, if possible, if we can have the first slide, with Caravaggio's milestone, beheading of St. John the Baptist. Exciting dynamics and creative challenges pushed us through a research path that explored multiple and often complex layers of artistic engagement. It's perhaps even better on the screen. What we will try to do in Diplomazija, astuta, is to engage with the tragedies of humankind. We wish to bridge time and to reflect on the themes of justice, reconciliation, and peace, as Jeffrey will be explaining soon. We were very excited when we later learned that these reflections anchored themselves within the overall themes that were selected for the 22 Biennale by curator Cecilia Alemani, especially her citation of the representation of bodies and their metamorphosis, the relationship between individuals and technologies, and the connection between bodies and earth. Well, the artistic point of departure of our project was to reflect on the spirit of Caravaggio's work and also on the oratory of the Decollato in Valletta, where it is located. Through our Malta Pavilion, we want to resituate Caravaggio's response within modern culture and society. The Malta Pavilion is, as will be underlined by my colleagues, the product of contemporary cultural imagery, yet it explores the past. Art can empower these reflections, and it offers platforms for understanding our current complex and very challenging times. The vastness of literary and visual culture available to us as humans, as human beings, anchors our collective identity and allows us to examine our past. So within the context of our space in Venice, our project hopes to provide a reflective space for reconciliation with injustices of the past and allows us to think about our present and our future. In other words, the Malta Pavilion is not just about Caravaggio and not just about the beheading. There are multiplicity of layers, as Giuseppe and Brian will be discussing. It engages with the Psalms. It engages with Guido d'Arezzo's Ut Queat Laxus, with Charles Camilleri's Missa Mundi. Well, I mentioned at the onset that we can't say much about the context of the project, but this much I can say. It is a project that resonates the creative synergy of the kinetic sculptures of molten metal and water by Sassolino, the textual resonance of Schembri Bonacci's incisions, and the powerful percussive score of Brian Schembri. Jeff.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming, and thank you to Arts Council Malta for really enabling us to make this project possible. About 3 years ago, we were thinking about whether or not art mattered anymore. And if it did, what was its renewed agency? What was it and what is it that art can do that nothing else can? How can we take people on a journey to understand themselves, the world, who we are as a collective, who we want to be, and who we can be? In a sense, our project holds a mirror to our contemporary imaginary. It allows us to see life and ourselves for who we are and what it is. And if art is to have any relevance and any agency, it has to empower us to be better. And in that sense, our pavilion presents our future selves in the present. So the question is, how are we going to do that? Well, we started with Caravaggio's beheading of St. John the Baptist. And the question was, why does this painting still matter? What does this painting teach us about who we are now and who we want to be? Essentially, we're positing that we're back in the time of John. And that's a very complicated and very complex statement. And we're doing that by reimagining this particular painting as a kinetic, site-responsive installation. We are echoing many of the imminent themes in this painting and situating it in modern life, in contemporary life. When people enter into this installation, they will enter into the painting itself in a new and renewed way. Our goal is to essentially take people on a journey from 1608 to 2022, a journey anchored in Maltese culture, a journey anchored in Maltese and global, contemporary, and really time travel. We are time traveling. And because of that, I believe we're going to teach people, show people, inspire people, and really lead through example. Thank you.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you to the Art Council Malta for this occasion. And thank you to the team. We actually just met in person a couple of days ago. And it's amazing how it seemed that we know each other forever. And that is fantastic for the ambitious and the complexity and the beauty of the project that we have had. I don't have much to add to what Keith and Jeffrey say, but let me say that art can only move forward. Art has to step in ground that has never been touched. But in order to do so, you have to know exactly what came before. And the beauty and the fantastic thing about this project is that it encroaches across history and geography. If I learn something about the power of art, is bringing word, identity, diversity together. And is what we want to do in this case. Yesterday, walking around for this amazing city, I was trying to think, I would try to image how many people before us, over the century, layer of time and history, how many amazing, fantastic people walking this street, okay? We are alive now, it's our turn. We are here now, it's our moment to say something, to bring this spirit into the future, forward. So we will do all is our power to deliver a work, I think, that will make people to discuss and hope something to be remembered. So, thank you. Giuseppe?
So, thank you very much. And dear distinguished guests, I'd like to add certain points that could maybe also unite. I mean, I love to use the word to de-Caravaggize Caravaggio, to bring Caravaggio to its minimalist really point, to de-iconize Caravaggio, to put it and him and the work, of course, into a contemporary world, which we call, during our discussions, the century of metal, in fact, which brought gulags, concentration camps, wars, genocides, and atrocities, and which we are still meeting today. The beheading is not just a biblical, Christian, or Catholic narrative. Apart from all theological implications, the narrative itself explores far-reaching philosophical and theoretical ideas, which we together tried our best to provoke in this fascinating installation. The beheading is not just about an execution that was ordered because of some kind of court intrigue. We must remember that, I mean, St. John was regarded as the harbinger of a new era. He heralded, according to the biblical narrative, the coming of the Messiah, which is the verbum, the logos, the word. The word becomes flesh. And this new word being prophesied by St. John is exactly a word, a new definition of humankind that distinguishes, if we continue the Testament narrative, the New Testament from the Old Testament, to bring a new world, sometimes an utopian world, that then unfortunately becomes a dystopia of horror and atrocities, as everybody knows, and we don't need to go into detail here. And this is why metal is so important in our installation. But the logos, the verbum, the word, language, is that what unites, in fact, our, again, I would say, fascinating project. Language is the means whereby truths are concealed so as to be unconcealed and manifested, made open by language itself. And together with my really remarkable colleagues, we went in depth as to the multicultural richness of the Mediterranean languages, the archaic, ancient languages, in particular, that formed our own Mediterranean identity, and that formed the whole cradle, really, of European genetics: Aramaic, Hebrew, Latin, Greek, Arabic, and those forms that make up our own Maltese structure. Italian, Arabic, and of course today we could even include English within our language. So a whole process started to evolve in juxtaposing this Caravaggio idea, the question of heralding a new era, whether dystopic or utopic, with the multiple flow of languages that envelop our own selves. And I came up to this idea by the beautiful help of the Maltese, Greek, Phoenician, Melkart pillars. One pillar is in the Louvre, and the other twin pillar is still at the Malta Museum of Archaeology. And this question, together with the Rosetta Stone beauty, which we discussed with Jeffrey many a time, how to bring the beginning of language into this Caravaggio heraldry of St. John, telling us a new word is coming, a new language is in the offspring, a new language of love, really, although transformed into a language of atrocity. But all this composes our primordial identity, even going back to Maltese prehistoric scratches and let's call it even cave art, which Europe is so rich in. And the text, however, were chosen as specifically selected, taking into account the chanting, the singing, the ana of the creation of humankind. That's the whole multi-relationship of languages. Such chanting, ana, is in our project juxtaposed again with the idea of a metallic century, of course, complemented by a beautiful parallel in Brian's score, which is, I can assure you, just wonderful. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Well, an integral part of this project is obviously Brian Schembry's work. Brian is online with us, but he has also sent a short video a commentary, which we will be seeing now.
My role in this project is to compose a music score which would somehow articulate the movement of the falling steel balls with the ensuing visual and sonorous effects in a musically organized manner. A sort of percussive score which would also organize the movement of the falling steel balls into a kind of dramatic choreography. Discussing the concept of the project with my eminent colleagues, I realized there was a very, very fortunate link between the importance given by the project to the number 7, derived from the 7 characters of the Caravaggio masterpiece itself, and a particular piece of music related to St. John. In fact, my score is inspired by a medieval 8th century interpretation of a Sapphic strophe extracted from the Latin hymn in honor of John the Baptist, Ut queant laxis. Now, as many people know, in the 11th century, Guido d'Arezzo used this particular hymn to base his, choice of syllables to name the notes of musical notation. So these 7 note names that were extracted from this hymn by Guido d'Orazio in the 11th century would, in my score, echo the 7 characters of the Caravaggio masterpiece. As various musical treatments of this hymn pattern, it's a hymn pattern, okay, interact and dialogue, I also introduce rhythmical excerpts from works by 2 major Maltese composers, Carlo Diacono and Charles Camilleri. I took 2 rhythmical motifs from 2 different hymns that Carlo Diacono wrote on the same Latin text as the Gregorian chant. And I also extracted 3 small rhythmic motifs from Charles Camilleri's 20th century organ work, Missa Mundi. So at the end of it, as far as my score is concerned at least, we have a sort of journey in time, starting with an original 8th century chant, becoming itself in the 11th century the primary source for the establishment of Western music notation, which in turn, in my work, is articulated in a classical 18th, 19th century rhythmical mode, as it interacts with 2 totally opposite 20th century aesthetics, musical ideologies, completely opposite. And all this through the lenses of a 21st century mind outlook. I would like to take this opportunity to thank my colleagues for inviting me to participate in this very exciting project, as well as Maestro Raymond Ceperras for helping me access the Diacono scores of the hymns from the Cappella Diacono archives, and of course the Gregorian chant specialist Dr. Jan van Biesen for providing me with a modern notation version of the Gregorian hymn Ut Quant Laxis.
Grazie, Brian. Thank you, Brian. Well, Arcangelo has already hinted, because he over the past couple of days, he met Dame Jeffrey, the entire team, which includes a large number of students and recent graduates, whom we have 2 representatives over here from the University of Malta, because this project also includes the participation of our students and recent graduates. It also has a very strong educational program, which Dr. Nikki Petroni will very briefly explain.
Thanks and good afternoon, everyone. So as Professor Ceperras has just explained, we have the challenge now of delivering this project to the world at large. So we've devised an education outreach program, which is specifically designed to open up the project to the community, the local and the international community. So the planned educational initiatives will provide wide-ranging opportunities to share our pavilion with diverse communities, youth groups, schools, and families, fostering meaningful engagements with the public. Through expansive learning opportunities, educational programs, and interactive activities for visitors of all ages, the Malta Pavilion Educational Outreach Program is envisioned as a gathering place for cultural dialogue, a hub for international scholars, and a forum to highlight how the arts create conversations that produce a greater understanding of the shared humanist principles that the entire project will be addressing. So we've come up with a number of initiatives, which include the creation of an interactive and fully accessible digital platform where audiovisual material, including curators' tours of the Malta Pavilion, artist interviews, and scholarly material can be downloaded, shared, live-streamed, and distributed globally. We've also will be creating a series of multidisciplinary public lectures designed for the general public, that will explore the various aspects of the project, ranging from art history to curatorship and artistic practice. This series of wide-ranging lectures will be hosted by the curators and other acclaimed international scholars and artists, both in Malta and in Venice, at relevant artistic and educational institutions in Malta, and also at the pavilion itself. We will also be having hands-on creative workshops with the artists, with Arcangelo, with Giuseppe, with Brian, for them to share their visual knowledge and musical knowledge and impart technical skills through practical exploration, together with the involvement of a variety of participants. Furthermore, the Venice Biennale has now become part of an accredited course at the University of Malta within the Department of Art and Art History, so that students can be involved in the process and visit the pavilion. But this will also ensure that the present project and the history of Malta's participation in the Venice Biennale will become a significant area of study within Maltese art history. That leads now further to what Prof. Shebaras has already highlighted, which is the apprenticeship program. So the involvement of students and recent graduates in the project. They will be helping on various levels, all levels of the whole project. They will be on site in Venice. And they will form a cohort of curatorial assistants, but also dealing with things like program coordination, design, digital design, artistic practice, even things like marketing, so they will be involved in all of this. Further to this element of public dissemination and the educational program, we will also be having the publication, which will accompany the pavilion, which my colleague Esther Fleury will be discussing.
So, Nikki has already hinted out the seventh member of the group, Esther Fleury, who's online with us and who has sent a video. The international capture is obviously part of this extraordinary project that we have, and Esther has a long history of international, major international projects, including Biennale projects, and we're very happy to have her on board. So Esther is following us online, but we'll be seeing a clip that she has sent us.
My name is Esther Fleury, and I'm part of the team as a project manager. And I will present our concept for the publication. The catalog will be published by Mitzi Books, Malta, and will also be printed locally in Malta. And it will be very much an expression of the collaborative approach we apply to the entire project, as it will bring together the different perspective of the entire team. And we will also invite scholars from the field of history of art and religious studies to contribute texts. The guiding concept for the publication is to serve two main purposes: to create a record of the exhibition and to function as a resource for future study. And it will include the following elements. There will be a text co-authored by the two curators, Keith Skiberas and Jeffrey Uslip, combining Keith Skiberas' scholarship in Caravaggio with Jeffrey Uslip's contemporary approach. And the text will focus on the underlying themes of Caravaggio's painting, their relevance in the present, and situate the project in the now and elaborate how this project is a natural continuation of the essence of Caravaggio's work in modern life and the present. A theological perspective will be offered by Dr. Joel Marcus, who is a leading scholar on John the Baptist. Marcus will contribute a text reflecting on John the Baptist in art, faith, and history, and the present time. What is it about John the Baptist in the sense of who we are and who we want to be as a global society? The catalog will also include a transcript of a roundtable conversation with the entire team and two esteemed Caravaggio scholars whose names will be announced later. And the purpose of the roundtable is to provide the readers with first-person narratives and insights into the why and the how of the project, technically, aesthetically, and methodologically. So what we want is the reader to be a fly on the wall, to really become part of this process. And we want this catalog to be generous and inclusive.
And that's what we can reveal at this stage. So I conclude here by thanking, on behalf of the entire team, Arts Council Malta, Ministru, let me switch to Maltese at this stage, Chairman Albert Marshall, il-membri kollha tat-tim ta' Marian, Romina, Christine, nirringrazzja lill-Ambasċatur Xarġa ta' Affarijiet tal-li ġew hawnhekk, nirringrazzja lid-dekanti għaj u lil-ġew mezzi l-istudenti u t-tim kollu tal-li ġejtu hawnhekk magħna. Grazzi ħafna, Marian.
So that was a very informative, I have to say, and comprehensive, session about the project. And I have to say, most of all, if you really wanted to raise our, and tease our curiosity about the whole thing, what's going to happen and what's going to the final product going to look like, you really managed. So in the coming months, obviously, there will be more news that will be informing, and you'll be receiving updates on all forms of media about what's happening and the build-up to April 2022. Obviously, all this cannot take place without the very inspiring leadership of Mr. Albert Marshall, whom I invite for his address, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Marian. Minister, artists, colleagues, and the media. The Venice Biennale is the Arts Council's foremost outreach in the execution of on which to facilitate the showcasing of the work of Malta's contemporary artists who dare to courageously conceive their artistic nightmares outside the box of the comfort zone. The skeptics keep warning me that this project is not sustainable because sooner or later we shall be running out of eligible talent that deserves to represent Malta and Venice. I beg to differ. Admittedly, this year's crop of applicants was less exciting than previous years, but invariably there is always one particular daredevil who hits you between the eyes and provokes the adjudicators' critical disciplines by their project's intrinsic, artistic, and innovative qualities that earn its creators the nod to travel to Venice. Earlier this year, Arts Council Malta, in its capacity as Pavilion Commissioner, under the auspices of the Ministry for the National Heritage, the Arts, and Local Government, published an international call for the engagement of a curatorial team to curate the Malta Pavilion at the 59th International Arts Exhibition at the Biennale di Venezia 2022. An evaluation board comprising of experts in the sector assessed the proposals received and unanimously decided that Diplomazija astuta was the best project to represent Malta and Venice. The winning team is composed of established, well-known artists and academics coming from different backgrounds, each specializing in their own respective field, as I'm sure you have noticed in previous presentations. The more time passes, the more convinced and determined I am that the artistic and curatorial winning team, with its solid experience and track record, and with a resilient potential in working together in a concerted effort to deliver its objectives, is the right one to represent Malta in one of the world's most highly acclaimed occasions in contemporary art. I feel proud to mention that Arts Council acted as the prime mover to take back Malta to the Biennale in 2017 and again in 2019 after a 17-year absence, Both the 2017 Malta Pavilion, titled Homo Melitensis, an incomplete inventory in 19 chapters, as well as the 2019 Pavilion, titled Maleth, Haven, Port, Heterotopia of Evocation, received international media acclaim, garnering a host of high-profile accolades and acknowledgements. The 59th International Arts Exhibition will take place from 23rd April to 27 November 2022 and will be curated by Cecilia Alemani. Alemani is an Italian curator based in New York, and she is the artistic director of the 2022 Venice exhibition entitled The Milk of Dreams. Through the installations featuring this exhibition, Alemani poses contemporary concerns that are fundamental to the understanding of our new mode of existence. How is the definition of human changing? What constitutes life? And what differentiates animals, plants, humans, and non-humans? What are our responsibilities towards the planet, other people, and the different organisms we live with? And what would life look like without us? Ingeniously, Malta's 2022 Pavilion is a metaphoric response to these thematic concerns. Via a poetic deconstruction of a Caravaggio masterpiece that serves as an inspirational force to create provocative sight and sound landscapes, the Maltese installation challenges visitors to embark on a journey of discovery that may instigate deep reflections on the thematic tensions suggested by Alemani's concept of the milk that dreams are made of. To conclude, I shall quote the curatorial team with what I believe is a fitting definition of this pavilion that we are launching here today. An extraordinary and timely installation, an invention of the collaborative creative effort between curators and artists, shall put forth a Maltese pavilion layered between the past and what's yet to unfold. Diplomazija astuta creates a palimpsest that uniquely operates within the realm of Caravaggio's altarpiece and contemporary Maltese visual culture. In the past editions of the Venice Biennale, over 6,000 international press visited the Malta Pavilion, which attracted over 800,000 visitors. Arts Council Malta is confident that the Malta Pavilion at the 2022 edition will once again make Malta proud. Thank you and good luck. Thanks.
So the Malta Pavilion, participating in the Venice Biennale 59th edition, is all being carried out under the auspices of the Ministry for National Heritage, the Arts and Local Government. Thus, I kindly invite Minister Herrera to actually close this presser. Thank you.
Your Excellency, the Italian Ambassador, the American Charge d'Affaires, Chairman, and distinguished people present over here. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for the launch of another important milestone in the journey of Arts Council Malta and the culture and creative sectors of our country. I would like to first and foremost congratulate the winning team present with us here today, as I am sure that their hard work and artistic excellence will bring even more success to Malta at the Venice Biennale Arte. With the formation of Arts Council Malta in 2015, an important objective set by my ministry was the internationalization of culture and arts. From the beginning, we felt that it is crucial to identify key international events worth investing in. An obvious choice, which was also part of my government's electoral manifesto, was the participation in the Venice Biennale Arte. This participation took place in 2017 after a number of years during which Malta was absent from this prestigious event that attracts over 80 participant countries and millions of visitors from all over the world. I'm informed that the Avanti Causa of the Arts Council in the 1950s had also participated in the Biennale, and they kept on participating in it for a number of years. And then for some reason or other, we had refrained from doing so. But I'm glad that we have reversed that decision. The experience gained from the 2017 participation gave us the necessary knowledge to further increase our commitment for the 2019 edition and the 2021 edition, which, due to pandemic circumstances, had moved to 2022. The past 18 months have surely taught us how important it is to invest our energy and resources in art and culture as the soul of a nation. The collaboration presented today, which brings together some of the finest local and international artists, clearly demonstrates the resilience of the culture and creative sectors and why we should keep on pushing for a broader participation at all levels, including areas of international excellence to promote our art and culture, not only on a national level, but also on an international level. The Malta Pavilion at the Venice Biennale, along other international participations by Arts Council Malta, have also been received very well by international audiences and have created the desired interest in our country's arts and culture. Having said this, I urge the team present here with us today to make sure that everyone gets the opportunity to share your journey, especially locally, through educational outreach. We want to ensure that a wide spectrum of our community is aware of your work and Arts Council's prestigious participation in the Biennale. Today's work with the younger generation will surely foster a wider appreciation and participation in the future, and apart from the successes, which I am sure your team will bring via this participation, we would have also left a positive mark on the younger generation as they aspire to achieve excellence in the arts as much as they do in other areas. I am very pleased with the theme selected to represent Malta, as presented by co-creators Keith Shiberas and Jeffrey Uzlip, Diplomazija, Astuta, which resituates Caravaggio's imminent themes within modern life, addressing many of the global challenges we face in today's world, from inequality to justice and peace. Ironically enough, when Malta participates in international arts conventions and fairs, we are using Diplomazija, Astuta, soft diplomacy. This iteration of the Maltese Pavilion demonstrates how the arts can represent society's ideologies and ideals. Our Malta project presents a transcendent cultural experience where beholders imagine a path towards reconciliation. It brings us great pride to put forth this salient project at one of the largest exhibitions of contemporary art in the world. Finally, I would like to wish the best of luck to the winning theme, and thanks to Arts Council Malta under the leadership of my friend Albert Marshall, making these things happen during these difficult times. As always, I like to remark that your efforts and the efforts of your team at Arts Council Malta have managed to make a lot of difference in ensuring that the creative and cultural sectors continue to push forward even during the most challenging period in recent history. Thank you very much and good luck.
Grazie, Ministru. Thank you. Thank you for viewing us. That brings us to a close for today. But please, I invite you to remain all posted through our social media platforms and through artscouncil.mt. Thank you.